A young boy walks through the woods, lost in heavy thoughts. He knows the current peace is fragile and won't last forever. His daydream is broken by a kind elderly man. The boy, Alec, realizes he's standing right in front of his home. The old man, his grandfather, senses that something is troubling him. But he doesn't press, simply remarking on how fast children grow. The mood is broken by the arrival of a cheerful young girl. Alec gets flustered as she excitedly talks about their plans for tomorrow. Later that night, the grandfather tells them to stop the noise and sleep. The scene shifts to a lone traveler gazing at a magnificent castle. The traveler's gaze is fixed, his resolve hardened by time. A voice calls out his name, confirming it is indeed Alec. A commander reports that their forces are ready for the coming battle. Alec looks back at his comrades, noting how strong they've all become. But his own goal is far simpler and much, much darker. They face a legion of enchanted armor, an army without faces. And Alec declares that for this fight he has returned. A sudden flashback to a peaceful childhood, a world away from war. Then another memory surfaces. A hospital room from another life. A life that ended from illness at the young age of 15. He remembers his past life confined to a hospital bed. But this life was different. He was given a second chance, a new childhood. A chance to run, to play, to have friends. Reborn in a new world, he could finally feel the sun on his skin. He had a brother, Jilly, who grew up right alongside him. Found as an infant, Alec was raised by the village with love. And a girl named Mia, who was always leading their little adventures. A simple, peaceful life. The perfect setup for a tragedy, because this peaceful world was the setting of a brutal RPG he once played. A voice in his head confirms it. This world is called Discard. His current job is villager, leveling up through simple chores. But his true goal is to reclaim his old class, the Necromancer. He meticulously plans his path from villager to black mage. His strategic thoughts are broken by Mia calling out his name. Her father appears, a warm and cheerful man. He invites the children for lunch, a welcome break from their play. They part ways, promising to meet again the next day. A promise that feels a little too perfect. Mia and her father share a moment of pure, simple happiness. And then, a single misstep shatters the peace. Alec bursts back into the house full of youthful energy. His grandfather greets him warmly, with one last task for the day. But he's told to bring a jacket for the coming night. Alec finds this odd, as he's always home before dark. The old man reveals they'll be attending the village meeting. A meeting for adults, so why is a 5-year-old being summoned? The sun sets on the quiet, unassuming village hall. His grandfather is the village sage, a respected white mage. You know, the guy you actually want in charge. If his grandfather is the sage of compassion, then the village chief is a man who looks less like a mayor and more like a final boss. The meeting begins, its focus on the annual harvest festival. The chief cheerfully delegates the preparations for the feast. A quiet hunter named William is tasked with providing the meat. We see the key figures, Tom the farmer and William, Jilly's father. The villagers are excited, promising a grander celebration this year. A man named Hans is put in charge of procuring supplies. He's the local merchant, funding the festival by selling donated goods. A true community man, or just a good businessman? Even the sage contributed, with a potion that sold for a high price. Alec's grandfather seems pleased, yet slightly puzzled by this. Finally, the chief discusses the prayer to the harvest god. The chief declares that starting this year, Alec will lead the prayer. To his surprise, the entire village erupts in enthusiastic support. Alec finally understands why he was summoned to this adult meeting. After a moment's thought, he calmly accepts the heavy responsibility. He stands before them all, promising to do his absolute best. His grandfather smiles proudly, trusting him to uphold his family's honor. With the festival details settled, the chief concludes that part of the meeting. But there's another more serious issue that requires Alec's attention. The villagers murmur, debating a child's role but agreeing it's a good way to level up. The next day dawns, bringing with it the weight of his new duties. Mia's eyes sparkle with pure, unadulterated admiration. She excitedly tells Alec how wonderful he looks in his ceremonial robes. But Alec feels awkward, complaining about the formal attire. His grandfather explains the harvest god is a goddess who will be pleased. Jilly, ever practical, suggests tying up the long sleeves so he won't trip. With a quick adjustment, Alec strikes a pose, feeling much more confident. His friends give their enthusiastic seal of approval. Mia gives him a thumbs up, calling him both cool and cute, a combo any 5-year-old would kill for. The chief asks if he needs to practice the prayer, but Alec already knows it. Impressed, the chief crumples the script as the sage laughs proudly. Alec beams, assuring them he won't forget his lines on the big day. The sage strokes his beard, a thought suddenly occurring to him. He mentions another special guest will be joining the festival this year. The name Kane sends a jolt of recognition through Alec. Kane is a traveling minstrel, a bard who carries tales from distant lands, and Alec wonders, could this traveler be another reincarnator like him? With the rehearsal done, the chief tells Alec to take the robes home. A 5-year-old's workday is officially over. Jilly helps him out of the formal attire as Mia watches quietly. She shyly calls out his name, getting his full attention. With a blush, she seems to have something important to say. She asks if he has a moment, her voice barely a whisper. But her courage wavers, the words catching in her throat. In the background, Jilly suddenly realizes what's happening. And Alec understands in a flash, Jilly likes her too. The weight of the moment becomes too much for Mia. She bolts, running to the adults for an escape. A classic 5-year-old maneuver. The village chief takes in the chaotic scene with a stern look. He claps his hands, expertly changing the subject to a new task. Jilly is sent on an errand while Alec is told to walk Mia home. Mia lets out a sigh, her moment of courage completely gone. Mia's face lights up as she agrees to walk with him. The sage gives Alec a warm pat, telling him to be careful. They wave goodbye, promising to see everyone tomorrow. And so the two children begin their walk home alone. Back at the hall, the sage apologizes to Jilly for the situation. But Jilly simply says that Alec is special, so it can't be helped. A statement that gives the old sage pause. Meanwhile, Alec and Mia talk excitedly about the festival. Ah, the blissful ignorance of youth. She suddenly grabs his hand, her smile bright and genuine. As she calls his name, Alec notes how bold she is for her age. Mia tightens her grip, having a special request for him. She asks if they can talk alone after his prayer at the festival. Alec agrees, completely oblivious to the 5-year-old drama he's in. She excitedly declares it a promise, and he assures her he'll keep his word. Her smile is radiant, filled with pure, simple joy. They reach the edge of the path, and she says she can walk the rest of the way. He watches her leave, the words, "See you tomorrow," hanging in the air. He realizes that Mia is someone truly important to him. He knows she's kind and will grow up to be beautiful, but there's a catch, because in this world, a peaceful future is never guaranteed. He knows he has to leave this village, to become an adventurer and explore the world, a freedom he was cruelly denied in his past life. This time, with a body that is his to command. He will experience everything the world has to offer. His resolve is unshakable. The path is clear. At 15, he can leave to become an adventurer. But he can't take Mia with him, and he feels guilty about Jilly. The burdens of a 5-year-old protagonist, and there's another, much larger problem on his mind. The game had monthly siege events, which means this world is doomed to endless war. But the grim future can wait, because right now there's food on the table. Jilly proudly presents the meal, his face beaming with satisfaction. Mia eagerly asks if they can have some, and Alec is more than ready to dig in. It's a dish from his past life. Hamburgers, a taste of a world long gone. Jilly pulls fresh bread from the oven, planning to impress their special guest. He explains that the minstrel Kane is a man of simple tastes but vast knowledge. Jilly praises Alec's cooking skills, noting his love for good food. A 5-year-old gourmet in the making. The bread is baked to golden perfection, ready for the feast. Jilly then has a brilliant idea. Combine the bread and the meat. But before they can even try, the plate is mysteriously empty. Jilly stares in disbelief as Alec and Mia confess to the crime. They make a run for it, claiming they only wanted a small taste. Jilly sighs, annoyed but also glad they enjoyed his cooking. The sage enters, announcing a change of plans for the welcome. Later, the 3 children wait patiently by the village entrance. Mia is the first to spot their guests arriving in the distance. The minstrel Kane approaches, but he's not alone this time. He's accompanied by a stern-looking warrior woman. A bard and his bodyguard, a classic adventuring party. The children rush to greet him, and he notes how much they've grown. Mia immediately asks the warrior if she's Kane's girlfriend and is promptly shut down. Kane explains he heard about the festival and just had to come. The warrior introduces herself as Abby, a solo swordswoman. Kane teases that he wouldn't mind if she were his lover, earning an annoyed glare. Alec notes that the minstrel is as well-traveled as ever. He seizes the opportunity, asking for news from the other nations. Kane describes the eastern islands of Atlantis as peaceful and stable, and the northern wyvern kingdom remains unchanged, a land of beasts and mountains. He lays out the world map, detailing the state of each nation. A 5-year-old's lesson in geopolitics. Alec listens intently, his mind racing to connect this to his past knowledge. The information confirms his fears about the world's delicate balance. The warrior Abby asks the crucial question, Where will the Cars Empire strike first? Kane speculates that the peaceful nation of Atlantis is the most likely target. He paints a grim picture, stating Atlantis lacks the military power to resist the Empire. He then turns to Alec, saying the boy's predictions match his own. Apparently, 5-year-olds are now foreign policy experts. Alec's heart sinks. The well-traveled minstrel has just confirmed his darkest fears. If the game's siege events are real, then so are the terrifying raid bosses. He realizes he must start training his magic immediately to prepare for the coming chaos. He clenches his fist, refusing to die helplessly after being given a second chance. His dark thoughts are broken by Mia's worried voice, asking if he's okay. Shaking off the grim future, he rejoins his friends as they head toward the festival grounds. Jilly offers to guide the guests to the chief's house to rest. But their plans are suddenly put on hold. Alec proudly presents a special welcome drink he made himself. Kane is intrigued while Abby looks on with suspicion. The stoic warrior has apparently never heard of a welcome drink. She really needs to get out more. But one taste is enough to stun them both into silence. As night falls, the village square transforms into a lively festival ground. The villagers celebrate, their laughter filling the air. A hush falls as everyone gathers around the ceremonial bonfire, and Alec, in his formal robes, steps forward to begin the prayer. Kane and Mia watch with admiration, the minstrel applauding the boy's performance. The bonfire crackles, a symbol of a successful prayer and a bountiful harvest to come. With his duty done, Alec steps away from the crowd, his part in the ceremony complete. A familiar voice whispers from the shadows. It's Mia, beckoning him to follow. She gushes about how amazing he was, apologizing for being late after getting stuck with the adults. But after the initial praise, an awkward silence falls between them. The two children stand quietly, the festive noise fading into the background. 5-year-old conversations are hard, man. Mia finally breaks the silence, her voice soft but determined. She has a question for him, something that's clearly been on her mind. She asks if he plans to leave the village when he becomes an adult. Alec is completely caught off guard by her question. Mia looks at him with a quiet, knowing sadness. He can't bring himself to lie, confirming her fears. He admits his plan is to see the world when he grows up. She isn't surprised, saying she knew he'd feel that way. Instead of being sad, she throws her arms open in support. She declares that this small village could never contain him. Then she asks if she can come with him on his journey. Well, that escalated quickly. Alec panics, warning her of the dangers outside the village. But Mia is determined, refusing to be seen as a burden. To prove her point, she reveals she's starting white magic training next year. Alec is floored. His own grandfather kept this a secret from him. She's certain the sage will make her strong enough to be a worthy travel companion. Her determination leaves Alec utterly speechless. She reaches out her hand, a silent plea for him to accept. With a hopeful smile, she asks him to take her with him. To the outside world he so desperately wants to see. The gravity of her request sinks in. This is basically a 5-year-old's marriage proposal. He turns away, gazing at the vast world beyond their home. And he realizes she's been thinking about this for a very long time. Her face flushes red, her whole body trembling with the weight of her confession. And in that moment, Alec finally sees her not as a character, but as a real person with real feelings. He'd been so focused on the game that he forgot these people were alive. Meanwhile, Kane watches the scene unfold with a knowing chuckle. He teases Abby about the intense 5-year-old drama, who just looks disgusted by it all. All around them, the villagers celebrate, happy and healthy. Kane takes it all in, a peaceful smile on his face. He remarks to himself that this truly is a wonderful place. And with his mind made up, Alec takes her hand, accepting her promise. 1 year passes in the blink of an eye. The sage, covered in a protective slime, tells Alec he can begin whenever he's ready. Our boy is now officially a level 1 black mage, and he looks absolutely terrified. With a deep breath, he gathers his mana, preparing to cast his first offensive spell. He unleashes a fire arrow straight at his grandfather. Family bonding, I guess. But the sage easily deflects the attack with a watery shield. The spell fizzles out, completely neutralized by the old man's defense. His grandfather notes that while his aim is good, he's a long way from true mastery. Alec understands he must master all 4 basic elements to unlock his true power. And just like that, his persistence pays off, leveling him up to cast 2 arrows at once. The sage sets a new goal: master 5 arrows before Mia's training begins. His solution? An endless supply of mana potions. At a premium price, of course. Half a day passes and Mia arrives, calling out to her friends. She's just in time to see Alec unleash a volley of 5 fire arrows. He's now a level 5 black mage, with enough power to one-shot a goblin. His schedule is brutal, black magic, white magic, and potion studies. A 6-year-old's work is never done. But amidst his training, a thought suddenly strikes him. He realizes he hasn't seen Jilly in a while, and Mia confirms it. The sage explains that Jilly is training with his father, William the Hunter. A man so skilled, he once took down an entire wolf pack alone. Alec confesses to Mia that things with Jilly have been awkward since the festival. He admits he stole the girl his brother likes, and now he feels lonely. 6-year-old love triangles are brutal, the sage reassures him, promising that once they're all stronger, they can adventure together again. For now, he tells them both to focus on their own training. But the old man's thoughts drift to Jilly, wondering if the boy has found a special mentor of his own. The night sky settles over the quiet village rooftops. Back in his study, the sage announces the final part of Alec's training. It's time to learn the ways of an apothecary, but first, the old man has a gift. He hands Alec a thick leather-bound book, catching the boy by surprise. It's a present, he explains, to mark Alec's new path as a healer. He flips through the pages, finding them filled with countless recipes. The sage explains it contains his entire life's work as an apothecary. Alec is stunned, saying he can't accept something so valuable. His grandfather asks if he's truly committed to becoming an apothecary. The old man says he's memorized it all, but now has a request for Alec. Alec looks up, confused by the sudden shift in tone. The sage explains that this book is like a child to him, just like Alec, and he wants its contents to be used to help the world. No pressure, kid. The weight of this legacy settles heavily on the 6-year-old's shoulders. Alec asks if he's truly worthy, but his grandfather's smile is absolute. Alec stammers, overwhelmed by the sheer weight of this inheritance. The sage simply asks him to stay healthy, as his training is far from over. He tries to hide his tears, but the old man's kindness is overwhelming. And with that, he officially becomes the sage's one and only disciple. 3 months fly by in a flurry of intense training. He's now a level 12 black mage because a 6-year-old's grind never stops. He ventures into the woods, foraging for potion ingredients. But today, he notices a path he's never seen before. A sense of unease washes over him as he investigates. His gaze falls on a large bush that seems unnatural. He pushes aside the leaves, revealing a single lonely boot. Alec stares in shock, wondering what he stumbled upon. He questions if someone just discarded their shoes in the woods. But a gut feeling tells him that's not the whole story. Suddenly a hand bursts from the ground, sending him stumbling back. A young elf girl rises from the leaves, looking completely unfazed. Alec realizes she was just sleeping, her shoes having come off. He stares up at the mysterious girl, completely bewildered, because sleeping under a pile of leaves is totally normal. His mind races, trying to process the bizarre encounter. He wonders what someone like her is doing this deep in the forest. He falls back, landing hard on the forest floor. Alec can only stare up in awe as the elf girl looks down, completely unfazed. A quiet moment passes, the only sound being the rustle of leaves. She pulls out some dried meat and begins to eat, completely at ease. She dramatically declares him her savior, saying he saved her life. He saved her from a really good nap. The elf introduces herself as Lilienthal, but tells him to call her Lily. Alec explains that he's from Kettle Village, a name that seems to confuse her. But then recognition dawns on her face. She knows someone from that village. She reveals she knew his grandfather, 30 years ago. Alec is left speechless, realizing this girl is far older than she appears. Alec can only stammer, asking if she's truly an elf. She confirms it, casually mentioning she's been alive for 200 years. He's always wanted to meet an elf, but notes she lacks the mystical aura he expected. She asks him to guide her to the village to see his grandfather, Gale. Alec explains their options: a 1-hour run or a 3-hour walk. Lily sighs, complaining that this part of the forest is dangerous and full of orcs. But Alec isn't about to walk for hours, unleashing an air cutter spell. The magic carves a path straight through the dense undergrowth, shocking the ancient elf. He proudly announces that he's just made them a shortcut, and the 200-year-old elf can only stare, completely dumbfounded by the 6-year-old's power. Lily questions if Alec is even human, but he insists he's just his grandfather's disciple. He leads the ancient elf into the village, announcing that they have a guest. The sage looks up, a flicker of recognition in his eyes as he sees his old friend. But their reunion is cut short by the arrival of Mia's mother, a warm and cheerful woman. She looks at the children with a knowing, gentle smile. With a hand on her stomach, she shares some wonderful news. She's expecting a baby. The room fills with joy as everyone congratulates the happy mother-to-be. She then reassures Mia that she won't be lonely when Alec leaves the village. Alec freezes, realizing their secret plan to travel together is officially out in the open. Mia just gives him a playful wink, admitting she told her mom everything. So much for secret pacts. Alec realizes it's only a matter of time before the whole village knows. Just then, Lily peeks through the door, asking if she can come in. The sage looks up, his eyes wide with disbelief as he recognizes his old friend. Lily greets him with a warm smile, confirming it's been a long time. She proudly announces she's now the ruler of the forest at level 38. The sage explains this is an advanced class for masters of spirit magic. It's a path exclusive to elves, a step towards becoming the elf queen. Alec is stunned. He never knew this class even existed in the game. Lily then asks how strong the sage has become, and he proudly declares he's level 50, a fact that leaves the 200-year-old elf completely speechless. Lily struggles to comprehend, asking if level 50 is even the limit. Her disbelief quickly turns into pure, unadulterated rage. She explodes, ranting about how much she hates geniuses, as the sage just laughs. Alec watches on, thinking this ancient elf is a lot less mystical than he'd imagined. With the reunion in full swing, Mia and her mother decide to head home. The sage then makes a request. He wants Lily to train the village children. Lily is caught completely off guard while Alec's eyes light up with excitement. The old man suggests she stay and teach them how to fight as a party. Alec eagerly asks if she'll become their new master. A 200-year-old elf seems like a decent tutor. After a moment's thought, Lily strokes her chin and agrees to the deal. Lily praises Alec's kindness, playfully jabbing that he's much nicer than the sage. She then asks about his current level, and he lists his impressive stats. The ancient elf is once again left completely speechless by his progress. She wonders if being the sage's disciple means Alec will also go bald. A terrifying thought for our boy. A few days later, the three friends are finally reunited for the first time in a while. Mia and Alec chat about their new elven master and Jilly's training with his father, but Jilly remains quiet, the awkwardness between them still hanging in the air. An uncomfortable silence settles over the group as they walk toward their training ground. Mia is the first to spot their teacher up ahead, but something seems off. Their training begins with a surprise. A giant stone golem chasing Lily through the woods. Lily calmly explains this is her golem, a simple test of their strength. A test that could also, kill them. Jilly and Mia are stunned, realizing their training just got very real. But Alec's resolve hardens. This is their first fight as a team, and he refuses to fail. With a battle cry, he leads his friends against the lumbering stone giant. Mia finds her courage, promising to support them both from the back line. Alec casts a haste spell, giving Jilly a much-needed burst of speed. He shouts the plan. Jilly will cripple its legs while he provides support. Jilly agrees instantly, his focus now locked on the target. He draws his bow, aiming a precise shot at the golem's ankle. And Alec prepares his own magic, ready to unleash a coordinated attack. He casts a pitfall spell, a trick he remembers from the game. The golem's leg sinks into the ground, throwing it completely off balance. Jilly seizes the opening, unleashing a powerful shot from his bow. The arrow strikes true, hitting the golem's now vulnerable leg. But Mia notes the arrow didn't penetrate very deep into the stone. She quickly reassures them, ready to provide her own support. Alec follows up, casting a massive wall of fire. The flames slam into the stone giant because when in doubt, add fire. The golem roars in silent agony as the heat cracks its stone body. Alec knew this would work. Fire is its ultimate weakness. The intense heat causes the golem's stone body to crack and splinter. It stumbles forward, its form crumbling under the magical assault. Mia shouts orders, telling them to keep their distance and focus their fire. She casts a haste spell, ready to support her friends from the back line. The plan is simple. Jilly will suppress the target with his arrows. He unleashes a power shot, pouring all his training into a single attack. Alec follows up with another barrage of fire arrows. He'll handle the ranged damage while Jilly keeps it pinned. But as the plan unfolds, a thought crosses his mind. He realizes their teamwork is surprisingly effective. First-timer's luck, perhaps. He unleashes one final decisive fire arrow. The magical bolt slams directly into the golem's head. Its stone face shatters, crumbling into a pile of rubble. The three children stand in the dust, wondering if it's truly over. For a moment, they can only stare at each other in disbelief. Then, the victory sinks in and they erupt in celebration. Lily watches on, admitting she planned to steal the final blow herself. Guess the 200-year-old elf has a bit of an ego. Alec approaches their teacher, breaking her from her thoughts. She praises their teamwork, promising a much harder test next time. But Jilly and Mia are fired up, ready for whatever comes next. The awkwardness between the three friends finally begins to fade. Alec agrees, a genuine smile returning to his face. And so, under Lily's guidance, their real training began. 3 months later, the ancient elf enjoys a well-deserved feast. It's a community effort, with everyone contributing to the meal. The sage asks if she'll stay on as their mentor for a while longer. She agrees, as long as she can go home within the next decade. Elves have a very different concept of a while. Alec overhears, realizing his own path is accelerating faster than he thought. The sage just smiles, remarking that his grandson was always destined for greatness. Lily watches them train, noting that Alec's leadership is the key to their success. Alec is in disbelief, but Lily confirms it with absolute certainty. She calculates that at his current pace, he can change classes next year. The path is clear. Reach level 30 in both classes to become a sage. His grandfather just smiles, noting he'll be a sage by the time he leaves at 15. Lily just pouts, clearly not a fan of these child prodigies. Alec confesses his true goal is to become a necromancer. Changing the subject, he asks about Lily's elven home. He admits he knows nothing about elves, and she smugly agrees to enlighten him. Her expression softens as she begins to tell her story. She speaks of a quiet place deep in the forest, home to a giant world tree. She describes a tranquil homeland where the elves' sole duty is to protect the world tree. Alec's eyes light up, wondering if he could ever visit such a magical place. But Lily explains that for the tree's safety, outsiders are strictly forbidden. The boy's face falls, his hopes of seeing the elven kingdom dashed. Lily reconsiders, admitting there might be a small possibility for him. She reveals that in 10 years, the selection for the next elf queen will begin. And if she is chosen, she'll have the authority to invite humans into their sacred home. Of course, the whole process takes about a decade or two. Elves are not exactly known for their speed. The sage listens intently, processing this long-term political development. But Alec is just left confused, trying to follow the elven succession crisis. Alec senses her hesitation, asking if the selection process worries her. He cheerfully says he'll see her in 20 years, a time frame that feels like an eternity. But their long-term planning is cut short by a sudden knock at the door. The sage wonders who could possibly be visiting so late at night. It's William, the hunter, looking grim and out of breath. He brings dire news. A wyvern has been spotted in the northern forest. Alec's blood runs cold at the mention of the fearsome beast. The wyvern, a mid-tier monster, is a terrifying sight for any villager. It's resistant to fire and wind, with a tail that carries a paralyzing venom. William admits he can't face it alone, requesting help from the village leaders. Alec realizes that with a master swordsman and a sage, his village is surprisingly well defended. But the sage admits the northern forest is too far away to offer immediate help. Jilly steps forward, determined to get the chief's permission to join the hunt. But he's stopped in his tracks by Lily, who has been listening from the doorway. The ancient elf calmly announces that she will accept the wyvern subjugation quest. Alec is stunned, questioning if she's really going to take on the monster. The sage tries to refuse her offer, but Lily clarifies that she won't be the one fighting. She declares that Alec, Mia, and Jilly will fight the wyvern while she watches. A classic hands-off teaching approach. Alec is left completely speechless by this sudden, terrifying field trip. And so the 3 children begin cramming for their final exam. A live wyvern. The news sends a shockwave of disbelief through the entire house. The 3 kids can't believe it. They're being sent to fight a wyvern. Mia and Jilly are terrified, calling the plan completely reckless. But Alec just smiles, explaining that Lily already got the adults' permission. The sage considers their levels, calculating that they're strong enough to be a mid-tier party. With Lily providing support, he officially approves the mission. Guess this is what passes for a school field trip. Alec realizes the power scaling here is different. Their basic classes are considered mid-tier in this world. Mia's fear turns to excitement, seeing this as a chance to test their skills. Jilly finds his courage, agreeing that they should take on the challenge. He declares that all their training has been leading up to this very moment. Mia declares that if she's leaving with Alec, she needs to be strong enough to take down a wyvern. Her sudden, cheerful declaration catches both Alec and Jilly completely off guard. Alec immediately takes charge, holding a strategy meeting to discuss the wyvern's known weaknesses. The next day, Lily waits for them at the edge of the forest, reminding them of the wyvern's paralyzing tail. She points deeper into the woods, warning them to approach quietly and avoid provoking the beast. The reality of their first real hunt sinks in, and the kids can't hide their nervousness. But Alec is practically vibrating with excitement, a stark contrast to his friend's fear. Lily gives him a deadpan look, questioning his unusual enthusiasm for a life-or-death battle. He's already planning the cool gear they can craft from the wyvern's remains. Priorities, I guess. Lily reassures them that with Alec's power and her support they can win, but they must remain focused. Alec steels his resolve, knowing that in this world, death is final. He turns to his friends, telling them it's time to move out. A sudden flash of light cuts through the darkness of the forest. Alec peers through the undergrowth, his focus absolute. And there it is, the wyvern, sleeping peacefully in a clearing. The sheer size of the beast leaves them all momentarily stunned. Jilly admits it's bigger than he imagined, but Alec tells him to trust the plan. This time their roles are reversed. Jilly will be the vanguard. Alec's job is to provide support and keep the monster off his friend. The massive creature sleeps on, completely unaware of their presence. Mia watches from the bushes, her heart pounding with fear. Alec steps into the clearing, wand at the ready. He unleashes a lightning bolt, a rude awakening for the sleeping beast. The wyvern roars in pain, its peaceful nap officially over. Alec taunts the monster, daring it to attack him. His friends can only watch in terror as the plan unfolds. The enraged wyvern locks its glowing eyes onto the small boy. It takes to the sky, diving straight for its target. But Alec stands his ground, unflinching in the face of the attack. He prepares a firestorm, ready to meet the beast head-on. But just as it dives, 2 arrows slam into its side. From the trees, Jilly follows Mia's instructions, aiming for the soft underbelly. The beast roars, its attention now split between 2 targets. Alec seizes the opening, hitting it with another lightning bolt. He continues to taunt it, drawing all of its rage onto himself. The wyvern unleashes a furious counterattack, a powerful gust of wind. But Alec is ready, throwing up a protective barrier just in time. Mia watches from the bushes, sighing in relief as the spell holds. The wyvern is thrown off balance, stunned by their coordinated assault. And Jilly takes aim, ready to deliver another crippling blow. Alec lays out the next phase of the plan from his perch. Mia's job is simple but crucial. Cure the paralysis if its tail connects. The wyvern recovers, circling high above the clearing. It locks its gaze back onto Alec, its primary target. With a roar, it folds its wings and dives straight down. But Alec just watches, completely unfazed by the incoming attack. Another volley of arrows from Jilly finds their mark. Alec follows up with an air burst, knocking it off course. Guess wind is on the menu after all. Jilly seizes the opening, landing a perfect double shot. Alec smiles, noting that so far everything is going according to plan. Alec watches the beast circle, confident their strategy is working. But his confidence shatters in an instant. He screams out Mia's name, sensing something is terribly wrong, because a second wyvern has just appeared right behind them. The battlefield has just doubled in size, and not in a good way. He realizes the monster's earlier roar wasn't a cry of pain. It was a signal calling for reinforcements. Lily steps in, her patience for this field trip officially gone. She unleashes a massive tornado, a vortex of pure magical power. But the powerful spell comes at a cost, leaving her injured. The powerful spell leaves Lily collapsing to the forest floor. She grits her teeth, realizing the wyvern's poison is spreading rapidly. Alec screams for Mia to cast the anti-paralysis spell on their teacher, but Mia is frozen, her mind completely blank with terror. She can't remember the incantation, her thoughts lost in a spiral of panic. Alec realizes his words aren't getting through to her at all. He knows the other wyvern will be back any second, and they're out of time. He changes tactics, shouting that he'll heal Lily himself. He orders Jilly to hold the line to stop the monster's advance. But the wyvern strikes, and Jilly is thrown to the ground, his own arrows piercing his back. Mia can only scream, her mind completely broken by the sight. Alec watches in horror, his carefully laid plans turning to ash. His brother is swatted away, his name a desperate cry on Alec's lips. The shock gives way to a cold, focused fury. He unleashes another spell, a desperate attempt to buy them time. But his mind is racing, his focus completely shattered by the chaos. He's torn between saving his poisoned master and his fallen brother, a classic RPG choice now with 100% more trauma. But in a flash of clarity, he knows what he has to do. Mia finally snaps out of her panic, her attention on their fallen teacher, and Lily, through the haze of poison, gives him a single, crucial command. Lily tells him she can still cast spells, even if she can't move. With that assurance, Alec makes his choice. He's going to save Jilly. The wyvern lands, looming over his fallen brother. Its cold reptilian eyes lock onto its helpless prey. Alec knows he's completely out of time. He casts double magic, a desperate gambit to boost his power. A lightning bolt slams into the beast, drawing its full attention. He casts haste on himself, dodging a deadly swipe of its claws. Our boy is now playing a high-stakes game of tag. He follows up with an airburst, striking its massive wing. But he knows this won't be enough, reaching for his last resort. He quickly downs a mana potion, refueling for the next assault. But with only one potion left, he knows he's on borrowed time. He unleashes a bind spell, wrapping the beast in magical restraints, then follows up with an icicle lance aiming for its massive wings. With its flight disabled, the wyvern is finally grounded. He chugs his final potion, pushing his body to its absolute limit. He knows this is it. This is the moment that decides everything. The wyvern roars, its raw strength beginning to shatter the magical binds. But Alec is one step ahead, casting a familiar pitfall spell beneath it. The ground swallows the monster whole, ending the fight in an instant. Alec stands alone, completely drained from the massive spell. The ground gives way, swallowing the beast's legs whole, but his relief turns to shock as the monster begins to rise. He unleashes another desperate attack, an icicle lance. The shards of ice slam into the wyvern's body. But his double magic buff fades, leaving him powerless to follow up. And to his horror, the beast is still standing. This thing just refuses to die. His vision blurs, his body finally reaching its absolute limit. He collapses to the ground, completely spent and defenseless. The wyvern looms over him, and Alec wonders if this is how his second life ends. The wyvern's jaws open wide, a dark abyss of teeth and despair. His life flashes before his eyes, a memory of a simple, happy day. But in that final moment, fear gives way to a burning resolve. With his last ounce of strength, he unleashes a lightning bolt point blank. He refuses to let his friends die, not after everything. The wyvern's claws dig into the earth as the spell hits home. It stumbles back, its massive body shuddering from the shock. And then, the great beast finally collapses to the ground. Guess a face full of lightning will do that to you. Alec can only lie there, his body completely spent but his friends safe. The wyvern's claws twitch one last time before falling still. The second wyvern stands frozen, a gaping hole blown through its chest. Lily, still paralyzed, had managed one final devastating spell. The beast collapses as she calls out to her student, but our boy has already succumbed to his exhaustion. Lily tells Mia that it's finally safe to come out of hiding. Mia breaks down, apologizing for her panic as Lily checks on Alec. She tells the crying girl to focus her magic on healing Jilly. The ancient elf stares at the beast Alec defeated, a 6-year-old's first boss raid. She realizes she'd only meant to buy time relying on the boy. She knew the poison would wear off, but she never expected things to escalate so quickly. Mia tends to Jilly, lamenting that Alec didn't have to push himself so hard. Lily reflects on Alec's genius-level strategy, hampered only by his lack of real-world experience. She admits she relied too heavily on the boy, pushing him far beyond his limits. She questions why the sage would ever entrust such a vital task to her. A memory of the old man's words flashes through her mind. He had placed his complete trust in her to guide the children, and she realizes she can't back down from that promise now. She resolves to forge these kids into the next generation of heroes. A 200-year-old elf turned reluctant babysitter. 1 year passes in the wake of the wyvern incident. A now 7-year-old Alec runs to catch her, asking if she's really leaving. Lily explains that with Alec's new class, her work here is done. She must return to her own journey to become the next elf queen. With a final wave, the ancient elf departs, and Alec watches her go, another chapter of his life closing. But his training is far from over. He's now learning alchemy. The sage inspects his student's latest creation with a critical eye. He declares the potion a success, and Alec celebrates his victory. His grandfather tells him he's now ready for more advanced recipes. But his studies are cut short by a sudden realization. He's late for another village meeting with the final boss himself. He reminds his grandfather it's time for the annual festival meeting. But the old man turns away, admitting he's feeling a bit tired. He asks Alec to go in his stead, and our boy happily agrees. The sage watches him leave, entrusting the meeting to his grandson. And so, the 7-year-old finds himself leading the village council. A completely normal childhood. He lays out the plans with the confidence of a seasoned leader. The villagers listen intently, completely won over by his competence. A man steps onto a small stool to get everyone's attention. He returns home later, announcing his arrival to his grandfather. He reports that the budget was set just like every other year. He mentions that Kane, the traveling minstrel, will be visiting again. The sage suggests he should think of some new dishes to prepare. Alec reads a letter, learning 2 other village boys have become adventurers. He tells his grandfather he'll meet with Mia and Jilly tomorrow. But when he turns to leave, there's only silence from the bed. A sudden sense of dread washes over the 7-year-old. He stands frozen, his mind trying to process what's happening. He looks back towards the bed, his eyes wide with worry. His grandfather lies completely still, his breathing almost gone. Alec calls out his name, but there is no answer. The night passes in a somber, silent vigil. The next day arrives, heavy with unspoken grief. The entire village gathers to pay their last respects. Alec stands alone before the freshly dug grave. The inscription reads, "Here lies the hero Gale who lived a full life." He tries to stay strong, to hold back the overwhelming sorrow, but the tears begin to fall, a silent testament to his loss. He finally breaks as his friends watch with heavy hearts. Mia can't bear to see him suffer alone and runs to his side. She wraps her arms around him, offering what little comfort she can. Mia's parents watch from a distance, their faces etched with worry. She stays by his side, a silent pillar of support in his grief. Her father finally steps in, gently telling them it's time to go. Jilly tries a different approach, offering a warm meal from his mother. Mia looks up, hoping her friend will finally listen to reason. With a heavy heart, Alec finally agrees to eat something. A wave of relief washes over Mia's face. Jilly smiles, glad to see a flicker of the old Alec return. Even grief can't beat a home-cooked meal, apparently. The three friends leave together, a small, somber group. And just like that, 7 years flash by in an instant. The years have passed, but the old house remains. Inside, Alec continues his grandfather's work. He meticulously follows the recipes, mastering his craft. Now 14, he proudly holds up his latest creation. He declares his daily quota complete, another day of grinding done. But his solitude is broken by a knock at the door. A familiar voice calls out his name. It's Mia, arriving with a smile and a home-cooked meal. Now 15, she's grown up right alongside him. He agrees, asking her to wait while he prepares himself. He cleans up his alchemy station as Mia hums a cheerful tune. She asks if his work is done, and he confirms he's just finishing up. With their departure only 3 months away, she wants to finalize their plans. She's even brought lunch to fuel their strategy session. A classic move. Mia wonders what she should pack for their grand adventure. But Alec holds up a magic bag, explaining he'll carry all their supplies. He can craft everything they need, from tents to magic water bottles. Mia wishes she'd learned alchemy too, as Alec's stats continue to skyrocket. She quickly backtracks, admitting she was just thinking out loud. He changes the subject, asking about her own training with a woman named Anna. Mia explains that Anna is her younger sister, a prodigy who mastered cure poison at age 7. But the girl is fiercely protective, begging Alec not to take her big sister away from her. Alec notes her level is low, realizing he and his friends were just built different. A classic protagonist problem. Their conversation is interrupted by another, more urgent knock at the door. It's Jilly, now a 14-year-old level 42 hunter, looking much more serious. Alec asks if he's interrupting, but Jilly seems hesitant to even speak. He apologizes for the intrusion, his expression grim and worried. But he's suddenly forced to the ground by an unseen assailant's boot. A group of 3 strangers stands in the doorway, their intentions clearly hostile. A stern-looking noble girl leads the party, flanked by 2 serious companions. Alec can only stare, completely bewildered by the sudden intrusion. The armored woman gets right in his face, demanding to know if this is the sage's home. But the noble girl just smiles, politely asking if they can come inside. Alec is completely flustered as Mia continues to unpack their lunch in the background. He offers them tea, apologizing that he rarely has visitors. He sits with the girl, explaining he can't offer much in the way of hospitality. She finally gets to the point, looking around and asking for the sage Gale. Mia peeks out from the doorway, her concern growing with every passing second. With a heavy heart, Alec delivers the news. His grandfather passed away 7 years ago. The revelation sends a shockwave through the visitors, leaving them utterly stunned. The noble girl presses him, asking who inherited the sage's legacy. Alec explains that while he inherited the apothecary work, there was no official successor. The armored woman then asks about the sage's equipment, her tone sharp. Alec's suspicion grows, wondering what these people are really investigating. He explains that his grandfather's staff and robes were cremated along with him. The armored woman is left completely speechless by this news. She explodes, ranting about the priceless value of a sage's gear. Apparently, some people have no respect for funeral rites. The male companion quickly apologizes for his comrade's lack of tact. The noble girl sighs, realizing their entire journey may have been for nothing. With the sage gone and his equipment lost, their mission has hit a dead end. The noble girl asks for his name, and Alec calmly introduces himself. But she apologizes, explaining that they cannot reveal their own identities. Instead, she extends a hand, offering him a job on the spot. Alec politely declines, explaining he's leaving on his own journey in 3 months. The girl accepts his refusal, though she seems genuinely disappointed. With their business concluded, she thanks him for the tea and prepares to leave. Her companion seems surprised by the sudden end to their visit. She offers a parting smile, hoping they might meet again someday. a very polite way to end a home invasion. The armored woman is completely stunned by her lady's friendly farewell, and from the kitchen, Mia watches the strange encounter finally come to an end. Alec is completely thrown by her offer of a handshake. The girl asks what's wrong, and he can only stammer in response. He finally takes her hand, sealing their brief, strange encounter. With a formal farewell, she turns to leave as if nothing happened. Alec can only watch as the mysterious trio disappears down the path. He lets out a sigh of relief, the tension finally leaving his home. But outside, Jilly is waiting, and he does not look happy at all. He reveals that the noble girl brought more knights than they saw. Alec realizes they were surrounded, with guards posted all around the village. A very casual way to ask for directions. And in that moment, he knows for sure. Their visitor was royalty. He connects the dots. Their visitor was from the Pendragon royal family. Jilly reassures him that with the sage gone, they have no reason to attack. But Alec knows they tried to recruit him, a clear sign of their interest. Jilly takes charge, promising to handle security with his father. Alec smiles, relieved to have such a reliable friend by his side. Jilly asks what's wrong, confused by his friend's sudden change in mood. Alec just thinks back to how much Jilly has changed over the years. Mia notes how much Jilly has grown to resemble his stoic father. With their conversation over, Jilly turns to leave, but Alec calls him back. He proudly presents a pie he baked, a peace offering after the tense day. Jilly is caught completely off guard by the sudden kindness. He stammers, flustered by the unexpected peace offering. Alec just smiles, glad to see his old friend again. He reflects that despite the years, Jilly is still the same person inside. The scene shifts to a dark office where a soldier delivers a grim report. He reveals that the Golden Princess is seeking the aid of a foreign sage. The news clearly shocks the high-ranking officer at the desk. But the soldier adds a grim update. The sage was already dead. Guess their intel is a little out of date. The officer can't believe the legendary protector of Pendragon is gone, but his shock gives way to a quiet, unsettling laugh. His laughter echoes through the grand office, a chilling sound of opportunity. He leans over his desk, his amusement twisting into something far more sinister. The soldier notes the princess's caution, wondering what she left behind in the sage's village. He then asks for his orders, awaiting the command that will shape their next move. The officer's lips curl into a cold, calculating smile. He gives a single brutal order: crush everything. The sage's legacy, the princess's plans, all of it will be reduced to nothing. Meanwhile, life in Kettle Village continues, blissfully unaware of the gathering storm. A week passes, and Alec can't shake the feeling that their visitors were just the beginning. But his grim thoughts are broken by Mia's sister, who is very concerned about lunch getting cold. Out in the woods, a sudden noise breaks the afternoon calm. Alec looks up, noticing the birds are fleeing in a panic. He casts haste, his feet flying across the forest floor. A knot of dread tightens in his stomach. Something is wrong. He races towards his home, a terrible premonition taking hold. Peeking from the trees, he plans to check on the village first, but he's stopped cold by the sight of soldiers at his door. The lock shatters, the heavy door groaning open. So much for a quiet afternoon. A hooded figure stands with them as Alec calmly asks their business. He stands alone, a 14-year-old boy facing down a squad of armed men. The hooded man asks his soldier if this kid is really the owner of the house. He lets out a small, condescending laugh, clearly unimpressed. But Alec notes their fine armor, sarcastically asking if it's a gift from the sage. The leader tells his men to ignore the boy and continue their search. Apparently, manners are not part of their training. That's the last straw for Alec, who charges forward, done with their home invasion. He unleashes an icicle lance, filling the room with deadly shards of ice. The soldiers' weapons shatter on impact, their armor offering little protection. But the hooded figure calmly melts the incoming attack with a wave of his hand. His men aren't so lucky, left pinned to the floor by the magical ice. The leader finally understands this boy is no ordinary villager, but the sage's true disciple. The hooded man declares he's done playing games, daring Alec to face him. With a powerful incantation, he summons a massive, screeching griffin. Alec's eyes widen in shock. He's up against a high-level summoner. The beast lands before him, and Alec admits this just got a lot more complicated. The griffin screeches, its sharp talons ready to tear him apart. But Alec's surprise quickly gives way to a calculated plan. He unleashes a massive firewall, engulfing the beast in flames. The griffin recoils in pain, its feathers singed by the intense heat. Guess it's not a fan of roasted chicken. He follows up with a water storm, dousing the flames and the beast. But the summoner steps in, shielding his creature from the final blow. The summoner explains his strategy. His beast attacks while he supports, Alec realizes he's essentially fighting two opponents at once. He counters, unleashing a powerful lightning bolt of his own. But the hooded man meets his magic with an identical spell. The two attacks collide, canceling each other out in a flash. Alec grits his teeth, realizing he's outmatched in raw power. The griffin seizes the opening, its talons closing in on the boy. It lunges forward, a blur of feathers and fury. The summoner laughs, ready to escalate this home invasion. A shadowy tail wraps around Alec, catching him completely off guard. Alec's eyes widen as he realizes the tail's true purpose: poison. The summoner follows up with a poison cloud, filling the air with a toxic haze. The griffin lunges forward, its massive talons ready to finish the job, but Alec dives out of the way, narrowly avoiding the fatal blow. He counters with a lightning bolt, striking the beast's leg at point-blank range. The summoner shouts in frustration as his creature stumbles back, dazed. Alec uses the brief opening to scramble for cover, his mind racing for a plan. He quickly casts a spell on himself: Cure Poison. A handy skill to have during a home invasion. He knows he's outmatched, but he searches for any possible path to victory. His only advantage is that his opponent thinks he's just a black mage. He casts Mind Boost, a white magic spell he's kept hidden. With the poison gone and his mind clear, he taunts the summoner. The hooded man is impressed, but ready to end this little game. He unleashes a massive firestorm, a vortex of pure destruction. Alec is caught completely off guard by the sheer scale of the attack. The inferno engulfs him, a wall of searing heat and pain. He's burned and battered, the attack taking a heavy toll on his body. But he throws up a magic barrier, barely holding back the flames. Guess he's not as crispy as the summoner hoped. And then he reveals his trump card, the ability to heal himself. A soft glow envelops his hand as he begins to mend his own wounds. The summoner is stunned, realizing Alec can use double magic. Alec stands defiant, his wounds gone, ready for the next round. But the constant casting takes its toll, and he falls to his knees. He pulls out another potion, determined to keep fighting. The summoner mocks his desperation, calling it a difference in experience. He orders his griffin to finish the boy off once and for all. But Alec's hand is already moving, preparing another spell. He unleashes a bind spell, trapping the beast in magical restraints. This kid has more tricks than a stage magician. With the griffin tied up, he makes a break for it, trying to escape. The summoner is furious, calling him a brat and refusing to let him go. But running was just a feint. He unleashes another firewall. The summoner is engulfed in the blast, a desperate last stand. He scoffs, unimpressed by the boy's desperate gambit. But Alec charges through his own flames, closing the distance instantly. The summoner's confidence shatters as Alec unleashes an icicle lance. He can only stare, completely outplayed by the 14-year-old. His face twists in panic as the attack closes in. A storm of ice shards fills the room, a point-blank magical assault. The shards pierce his body, his fine armor proving useless. He cries out in agony, finally brought to his knees by the boy he underestimated. The summoner's weapon clatters to the floor, his grip broken. He collapses in a heap, defeated by the 14-year-old boy. The man wonders why his wounds aren't closing on their own. Because Alec is the one casting a healing spell on him. The summoner's eyes widen, a shocking realization dawning, and Alec calmly reveals his true class. He is a sage. The summoner just laughs, calling this an unexpected twist. Guess he appreciates good drama. All around them, his soldiers lie defeated and broken. Alec then asks the question that started this whole mess. The summoner reveals their goal, the sage's inheritance. The summoner reveals their true prize, the philosopher's stone. Alec is stunned. That's a legendary item for sages to learn extra skills. An item so rare it requires defeating a raid boss just to start the quest. He sorted through his grandfather's things, but never saw anything like it. The summoner laughs, claiming the stone holds the key to ruling the world. A classic villain monologue. But Alec points out a small flaw in his plan. He's a summoner, not a sage. The man just scoffs, dismissing the boy's logic as completely foolish. Alec realizes there must be others who want to exploit the stone's power. He questions why the summoner is talking so freely, sensing a trap. And a terrible thought crosses his mind. What's happening to the village? The summoner's words hit him like a physical blow. Alec stares back, his mind struggling to connect the pieces. He runs forward, demanding to know what this is all about. The man reveals the stone was just a bonus. Their real target is the princess. The word princess sends a jolt of recognition through Alec. He remembers the face of the noble girl who visited his home. The summoner explains they can't let her interfere with their plans. Villains just love to monologue, don't they? He speaks of a seed the princess may have planted in this village. A seed they intend to crush, along with the very ground it grows in. And in that instant, Alec understands the horrifying truth. Alec grabs the summoner, demanding to know what he's done to his home. But the man's only answer is to have his griffin silence his own men. The soldiers are cut down, a brutal way to tie up loose ends. The summoner then pulls out his final trump card, catching Alec off guard. Our boy's eyes widen as he recognizes the item instantly. The summoner vows this isn't over, promising to return for his revenge. Alec screams for him to wait, realizing it's a teleportation scroll. But it's too late. The man vanishes, leaving only a trail of blood. A classic villain exit. Stage left. He slams his fist into the ground, furious that he let him escape. He realizes the entire monologue was just a stall tactic to free the griffin. Alec realizes the summoner's final act was to silence his own men. A brutal, bloody display of tying up loose ends. But there's no time to dwell. He races back towards the village. His worst fears are confirmed as smoke rises from his home. His first and only thought is to find Mia and make sure she's safe. He arrives to a scene of chaos, his village under attack by soldiers. One of them spots him, casually labeling him as just another survivor. But Alec is done being a victim, unleashing a lightning bolt without hesitation. The soldier is thrown back, completely unprepared for the boy's power. Survivor! The word echoes in his mind with a new, chilling weight. He races through the chaos, calling out for Jilly and Mia. The village is burning, the streets littered with fallen soldiers. Many of them have been taken down by precise, deadly arrows. He takes in the sheer scale of the carnage around him. A familiar voice calls his name. It's Jilly. Bow at the ready. Alec demands to know what's happening, but Jilly is just as lost. A surviving soldier on the ground attempts one last desperate spell. A blinding light flares, a final act of defiance. Alec tells Jilly he's casting a heal. Their priority is finding Mia. He then unleashes a lightning bolt, clearing a path through the enemy. Guess the strategy meeting is over, Jilly calls out to Alec, who's overwhelmed by the endless stream of enemies. His eyes fall on a horrifying scene at the village hall. The villagers lie dead, having formed a human shield to protect someone. He recognizes the face of the village chief among the fallen, and Tom the farmer, a man who was always smiling. A cold fury builds inside him, vowing he will never forgive this. He unleashes a wave of fire, engulfing the soldiers in righteous flames. His hand glows with power, his rage fueling his magic. A memory flashes through his mind. A peaceful day in the orchard. But Jilly's voice snaps him back, shouting that Mia's house isn't on fire. They race to Mia's house, only to find it surrounded by soldiers. And in the doorway, Mia is pinned by a volley of arrows. A guttural scream tears from Alec's throat as he unleashes an airburst. The blast of wind slams into the soldiers, sending them reeling. They're thrown back like rag dolls, their formation completely shattered. One soldier remains, shouting defiance at the boy who just wiped out his squad. He tells Alec not to get cocky, blinded by his own rage. The soldier charges forward, ready to strike the boy down. But Alec meets his blade with a sword of his own, his eyes cold and empty. The soldier's courage breaks, calling Alec a demon before trying to flee. But there's no escape. Alec's blade finds its mark. Jilly shouts for him to go, promising to hold the line. Alec doesn't hesitate, racing towards Mia's side. He calls out her name, promising he's there to save her. She looks up, her face pale but her eyes full of relief. With a weak voice, she whispers his name in return. He can only watch, his heart pounding in his chest. She looks down at her wounds, glad that he's at least safe. And then her body gives out, slumping forward. Alec's world shatters, his expression turning completely blank. He can only stare as she falls to the ground, unmoving. A single tear traces a path through the grime on his face. He screams her name, the sound lost in the chaos of the attack. Jilly runs up behind him, demanding to know what just happened. He scans the trees, realizing an archer must still be nearby. And in the distance, a lone soldier makes a hasty retreat. Alec scrambles to her side, his mind racing to stop the bleeding. He places a hand on her chest, desperately trying to cast a healing spell. But the magic sputters, unable to close the fatal wound. His eyes widen in pure terror as he realizes his power is useless. He screams the incantation, pouring all of his magic into her. But nothing happens, and he can only ask why. His voice cracks with desperation. The wound refuses to close. It's a simple injury, one he should be able to heal in an instant. But the rules of this world are cruel. Healing only boosts natural recovery. And if the damage is fatal, the spell is completely useless. A memory of her bright, cheerful smile flashes through his mind. But the girl in his arms is already gone, her eyes empty and cold. A sage cannot heal the dead, but he is a sage. and a sage can use resurrection magic, but there's always a catch. The catch is simple. Resurrection magic is only learned at level 35. And Alec is only level 10, a child prodigy who is still just a child. He remembers his grandfather's words, his plans for the future. The old man had wanted him to master the sage's path above all else. But Alec's true goal was always the Necromancer. He put it all off. A memory of a simpler time when his magic was just for fun. A memory of her smile, bright and full of innocent joy. The face of the girl he promised to travel the world with. All those promises, all those plans, now just shattered memories. He can only kneel there, broken, as the world fades to white. The world comes rushing back. He's still in the middle of a war. He casts Mind Boost, his grief replaced by a cold, empty focus. Jilly calls out his name, asking about Mia, trying to reach him. But Alec just walks forward, casting haste and protect on himself. Jilly can only watch in shock as Alec layers himself in barriers. He enchants his staff, turning the simple wood into a deadly weapon. A soldier charges in, seeing an easy kill on the grieving boy. A very, very poor life choice. The soldier's confidence vanishes, realizing his mistake far too late. With a guttural roar, Alec swings his staff like a club and brings it down with brutal, unforgiving force. The soldier's face contorts in agony from the brutal impact. Another charges forward, screaming curses at the boy who broke his comrade. But Alec is already casting again, unleashing a deadly air cutter. The remaining soldiers can only stare, stunned by his overwhelming power. He whispers a cold promise to himself, his voice devoid of all emotion. He follows with an icicle lance, cutting down the entire squad in an instant. Jilly screams his name, begging him to stop this reckless rampage. He warns that at this rate, Alec will burn through his own life force. But all our boy can see is her smile, a memory that fuels his rage. And he declares that for what they've done, there will be no forgiveness. Jilly can only watch from the tree line, helpless against his friend's rage. He grits his teeth, knowing Alec is pushing himself far beyond his limits. The soldiers are stunned, calling for their captain to deal with this monster. One of them unleashes a fire arrow, a desperate counterattack. But Alec just raises his staff, a dark power swirling around him. He unleashes a firestorm, engulfing them all in an unforgiving inferno. The survivors can only stare, wondering what kind of demon he truly is. And just then, their captain arrives, looking completely unimpressed by the carnage. Alec stands his ground, ready to face this new, more powerful foe. He notes the enchanted armor. This is no ordinary soldier, but a magic swordsman. The captain unleashes a lightning bolt of his own. He mocks the boy, calling his magic pathetic. But Alec knows a single spell won't be enough. He whispers a single chilling command. Die! The captain's confidence shatters as the boy's magic overpowers his. He falls to the ground, completely outmatched by the grieving child. His men can only stare in disbelief at their fallen leader. They break ranks and flee, calling him a monster. Apparently, they've just noticed. But Alec gives no quarter, refusing to let a single one escape. He cuts them down one by one, his grief now a storm of vengeance. He makes a silent vow to hunt down every last person who destroyed his home. The battle is over, leaving only a grim silence hanging over the village. The quiet rooftops stand as tombstones for a life that is now gone. A memory of the chaos flashes by, the villager's final desperate moments. He can only kneel there, the weight of his failure crushing him completely. He stands alone, a solitary figure left behind by the storm of violence. His hand trembles, a reminder of the power he used and the life he couldn't save. And he lets out a bitter laugh, realizing the cruel irony of his magic. He can't use resurrection, but he just unlocked instant death. Well, that's convenient. All around him are the results of a battle he won, but a war he lost. He kneels beside Mia, her face peaceful in death. His hand gently brushes her cheek one last time. His eyes are hollow, the fire of his rage now just cold ash. Jilly's voice cuts through the silence, asking if he's finally back. Alec calls out his friend's name, his voice barely a whisper. Jilly delivers the grim news. They are the only two left alive. Alec can only wonder what comes next, what future is left for them. But Jilly, ever the pragmatist, is already thinking of survival. And in response, Alec can only let out a broken, manic laugh. He marvels at Jilly's strength to think of the future in this nightmare. Alec finally snaps, screaming the horrifying truth out loud. But Jilly's response is cold, stating that everyone is already gone. He tries to silence Alec's grief, but it's far too late for that. Alec grabs him, demanding to know how he can be so calm. He questions if Mia ever even mattered to his so-called friend. A low blow, even for a grieving teenager. The accusation hits Jilly harder than any physical attack. Jilly's answer is simple, because he's not alone. He explains that if he'd lost everyone, he'd be just as broken as Alec. Alec looks up, finally seeing the terrible expression on his own face, and he knows he can't leave his last remaining friend behind. Alec's hand trembles, bandaged and bruised from the fight, a reminder of the price he paid for a victory that feels like a loss. He can only let out a small, broken sound, the fight gone from him. The fire in his eyes has been replaced by a hollow emptiness. He kneels, his body finally giving in to the overwhelming despair. Jilly can only watch as his friend completely breaks down. A memory of a happier time, a life that now feels like a dream. But the dream is over and all that's left is a ghost town. He sits alone, lost in his grief, wondering how long it's been. While Jilly goes to find food, Alec knows he has to do something too. His body is frozen, completely unresponsive to his will. All that training, all that power, and he couldn't save a single person. He knows what death is. A lonely, empty void he's fallen into before, but this time, his failure cost him the one person he promised to protect. He can only kneel beside her, a monument to his own weakness. But a strange light appears, taking the shape of a simple spoon. He reaches out, his hand closing around the mysterious object. A magical spoon appears. Because at this point, why not? He looks up, the despair in his eyes replaced by a chilling resolve. The silence of the dead hangs heavy over the ruins of his home. He hears a voice wondering if someone is there. His head whips around, his eyes wide with disbelief. A small, ghostly wisp emerges from a nearby door. It zips past him in a blur of ethereal light. He calls out, asking if it can possibly help him. A memory surfaces, a lesson on the Necromancer's unique skills, a power granted to only a select few, communion with the dead. A skill he could only master by leveling up his true class. He clenches his fist, realizing this power wasn't in the game. And in the depths of his despair, a new, terrifying path opens up. He thinks that if he can just use this newfound power, he might be able to do something for the girl he couldn't save. He follows the ghostly wisp, his grief now a cold resolve. It leads him through the silent, empty house. He follows without hesitation, his steps heavy with purpose. The spirit guides him up the stairs deeper into the home. It phases right through a closed door, a silent invitation, and Alec realizes, this is Mia's room. His hand trembles as he reaches for the doorknob. He takes a breath, steeling himself for what lies beyond. He pushes the door open, stepping into her room. It's just as she left it, a silent, peaceful space. His eyes scan the room, searching for a sign, for anything. The spirit guides him to a wardrobe, its purpose still a mystery. Just then, Jilly returns, calling out his friend's name. He sees the open door and a sense of dread fills him. He bursts in to find Alec on the floor, a knife by his side. A truly terrible way to find your last friend. Jilly screams his name, rushing to his side in a panic. A voice cuts through his fear, telling him not to think the worst. Because Alec is still standing, a ghost at the top of the stairs. Jilly stares up in shock, asking what he's doing up there. But Alec just puts a finger to his lips, telling him to be quiet. Jilly is completely bewildered by his friend's strange behavior. He follows Alec's gaze to find Mia's little sister, Anna, sleeping. A wave of relief washes over him, glad she's at least safe. He realizes they aren't the only survivors of the attack after all. The morning light filters through the trees, a stark contrast to the chaos. But the village itself remains a silent, broken ruin. Back inside, the house is quiet, a pocket of peace in the devastation. And Alec begins to prepare a meal, his focus absolute. He realizes Mia gave her life to protect her little sister, Anna. A memory of her standing defiant, ready to fight for her family, while the little girl hid, terrified, in the safety of a wardrobe. He thinks of her strength, so different from his own perceived failure. Jilly's voice cuts through his thoughts, announcing his return. He reports the village is empty. They have time for one last meal. He's even brought supplies and a change of clothes for Anna. Jilly, the world's most prepared post-apocalyptic friend. Alec thanks him, asking him to wake the little girl for breakfast. Left alone, he lets out a heavy, weary sigh. And Anna appears, walking down the stairs into her new reality. He greets Anna with a gentle smile, telling her breakfast is ready. But the simple meal does little to ease the girl's confusion. She looks around, realizing she's not in her own home. And then she asks the one question he was dreading. Where is Mia? Alec knows he can't avoid it, asking her to sit down for a talk. The little girl's eyes fill with dread, sensing the weight of his words. He starts to explain, asking if she remembers the attack from yesterday. He reminds her how Mia told her to hide, to stay safe in the closet. He takes a breath, the words catching in his throat, and then he delivers the final, crushing blow. Only the three of them survived. Anna struggles to understand, asking what happened to everyone else. She asks about her parents, and Alec gives a cold, simple answer. They were killed. She asks about the village chief, about Jilly's father, William. But for every name she lists, the answer is the same brutal truth. Finally, she asks the one question she's been dreading the most. And Alec forces himself to deliver the final, soul-crushing blow. The little girl's world shatters, her denial erupting in a cry of disbelief. She refuses to accept it, shouting that Mia promised she would be okay. She screams that Mia told her Alec would come, that he would save them all. And Alec can only sit there, crushed by the weight of his own failure. Her grief turns to rage, screaming at him for failing to protect her sister. The one question she can't let go of echoes through the silent room: why? And Alec's answer is simple, brutal, and honest: because I was weak. The words land like a physical blow, leaving the two children in a stunned silence. He continues, explaining that if he'd been stronger, Mia would still be alive. But Jilly offers a different, colder perspective. Mia wasn't strong enough either. Anna then turns the blame on herself, saying Mia could have escaped if she'd been stronger. A whole family of self-blamers, I see. Jilly tries to cut through the grief, shouting Alec's name to snap him out of it. But Anna questions their logic, asking if being strong gives you the right to do anything. Jilly agrees with a chilling certainty. In this world, the strong are forgiven for everything. Jilly slams his foot down, declaring the weak are always taken by the strong. But Alec screams back, refusing to accept such a cruel reality. The two friends stand in a tense silence, their grief now a bitter divide. But Jilly's words take root, and a dark realization dawns on Alec. Overwhelmed by it all, Anna sits in silence, her head bowed in sorrow. She finally looks up, begging them to make her strong so she's never a victim again. Her desperate plea cuts through his rage, catching him completely off guard. He understands that without power, the weak are simply food for the strong. Jilly kneels beside her, admitting they lacked everything they needed to protect their home. And Alec finally understands, vowing to never lose anyone important ever again. He covers his mouth, trying to stifle the sobs that threaten to break him. Through his tears, he makes a promise to Anna: they will get stronger together. The little girl can only cling to him, her own grief finally overflowing. Jilly watches them, the reality of their situation finally sinking in. Even he can't stay strong forever, turning away to hide his own tears. And so, the three survivors share one last silent meal in their ghost town. Anna packs her bag, clutching a drawing of the family she's lost. Jilly stands ready, his expression hardened by loss and a newfound purpose. Alec takes one final look at the house, a silent farewell to his past life. With only what they can carry, they leave their home behind, walking into an unknown future. They venture into the eastern forest, where Alec begins Anna's training. He's covered in a protective slime, assuring her that he'll be fine. She gets flustered, insisting he's her teacher, not just Alec. With a determined cry, she unleashes her first fire arrow spell. The spell flies straight for him, a test of both their skills. Anna celebrates her success, proud of her first real attack. But the slime on Alec's shoulder moves to intercept the spell on its own. He calmly slices the slime away, redirecting the attack with his sword. A very casual way to handle being a target dummy. The slime splashes down, extinguishing the fire arrow in an instant. Anna can only stare in awe, amazed by his effortless skill. He explains his gear is a hand-me-down from his grandfather's adventuring days. Jilly encourages Anna to keep practicing, impressed by her first attempt. Alec decides to teach her black magic, a path of pure power. He knows that for a girl seeking strength, this is better than healing. The scene reminds him of his own training with the sage. Anna's voice snaps him out of his memories, calling him master. He calls an end to the day's training, a new routine now established. The new title creates a distance, but he respects her decision. As night falls, they prepare a simple meal over the campfire. Jilly asks their destination, and Alec reveals their next stop: the port town of Volks. Alec lays out their route to the port city of Volks. Jilly is surprised, assuming their destination was the capital. But Alec has no intention of getting involved with royalty again. He explains that a port city offers cheap supplies and easy travel. Their first order of business will be getting guild cards for all three of them. He explains it's an ID that tracks their stats and waives travel taxes. It also serves as a passport, simplifying travel between nations. With their village gone, they're essentially ghosts without official IDs. A real pain for tax season, I'm sure. Jilly is shocked when Alec reveals his next plan: forming their own clan. He admits that for now, he has a very specific reason for it. He explains that a clan gets them a base and access to high-level quests. But Jilly points out the catch. A clan needs 3 members. Anna stands up, declaring she'll fight and get stronger to join them. Alec reassures Jilly, promising he'll train her thoroughly on the way. Jilly finally relents, putting his trust in his friend's judgment. 3 days later, Anna's training gets a very practical upgrade. She struggles to cast her spell, her hands shaking with nervousness. From behind a rock, she watches as an arrow finds its mark. Guess Jilly is handling the practical exam. The goblin never even knew what hit it. Alec asks if they pushed her too hard, as Anna looks ready to collapse. The goblin falls, riddled with arrows from their combined assault. And Anna's training progresses, until she can finally take one down on her own. But outside of combat, her survival skills are a work in progress. She apologizes for her mistakes, feeling like she's holding them back. But Alec just smiles, reassuring her that it's all part of the learning process. He tells her it's okay to fail, especially since it's her first time. But the memory of her sister hangs heavy, asking if Mia was better at this. Alec's smile is tinged with sadness as he remembers his promise to travel with her. A memory surfaces of a time he and Mia spent a week surviving in these same woods. He explains that Lily taught them how to live in the forest, just as he's teaching her now. Anna looks down, her face filled with a quiet sadness. The moment is broken by Jilly, offering a freshly cooked meal. Alec passes the food to Anna, a small gesture of care in their new life. But Jilly's expression turns serious. He has a question for Alec. He asks what a hunter becomes at level 50 and how he even got there. Jilly explains he leveled up by killing soldiers during the village attack. Well, that's one way to grind EXP. Alec realizes that in this world, killing humans grants experience too. Jilly asks what's wrong, but Alec just brushes it off, lost in thought. Jilly explains one path for a hunter is to become a sniper. The other is to become a ranger, a master of forest combat. Alec lays out another option, the Trap Master class, or he could become a treasure hunter, specializing in finding items. But Alec cuts to the chase, asking what Jilly truly wants to become. He explains the pros and cons. A sniper is a glass cannon for parties. A classic RPG dilemma. Jilly makes his choice without hesitation. He'll become a sniper. He claims just surviving is enough, but his eyes tell a different story. He finally admits the truth. He wants to be strong enough to fight with Alec. Alec smiles, his friend's loyalty cutting through the darkness. He gives Anna a reassuring pat on the head. A small moment of peace. With their plan set, he thanks Jilly and wishes Anna a good night. The next morning, Anna peeks out of their makeshift tent. 7 days have passed, and her training continues relentlessly. She asks her master what new monster they'll be facing today, and Alec has a very special lesson planned for her. He's asked Jilly to bring them a live orc for practice. He explains that while orcs are tough, they're also slow targets. A sound in the distance tells him their guest has arrived. Jilly bursts from the trees, announcing he's brought the target, and it looks very, very angry. The massive beast lumbers forward, a wall of pure muscle. Alec calls out her name, and Anna readies her wand for the fight. Her fire arrow strikes the orc, but barely leaves a scratch. The beast roars in fury, ready to crush its tiny attacker. Anna freezes in terror, her training forgotten in an instant. But Alec steps in, casting a bind spell to stop its advance. He tells her to keep attacking, to push through her fear. The orc's raw strength begins to shatter the magical restraints. She cries out in panic as the monster breaks free and charges. So Alec unleashes a new spell, a swirling vortex of black fire. The beast is completely consumed, turning to ash in an instant. Alec just critiques his own spell, a little underwhelmed by the results. A true perfectionist. He explains the fire vortex spell is weak, but it holds the target for 10 seconds. The only problem is its mana cost is 5 times higher than a normal spell. And to Anna's horror, the orc is still standing after the attack. It takes a heavy step forward, its eyes locked on the terrified girl. She can only let out a small sound of disbelief, completely frozen. So Alec steps in, pinning the beast with his staff. Guess the training wheels are off. Anna watches in terror, her mind completely blank once again. But her master is already casting another spell, a powerful lightning bolt. The magic slams into the orc's chest at point-blank range, and the massive beast is finally brought down for good. The orc lies defeated, a testament to Alec's overwhelming power. Anna can only stare, her first real battle leaving her completely stunned. She peeks out from behind her master, still shaken by the encounter. Alec explains that against tough enemies, she must always plan her next move. He reminds her that they're fighting to get stronger, to survive. Because if they're defeated, it's all over. Survival means nothing without victory. He tells her to always save enough energy to retreat if a fight turns sour. She apologizes for freezing up, but he reassures her he's not angry. He praises her efforts, promising she'll become strong in no time. But his words do little to ease the heavy burden on her young shoulders. The night passes, their small camp a lonely light in the darkness. But for Anna, sleep offers no escape from the horrors she's seen. She wakes with a start, her breath catching in her throat. In her dreams, she calls out for the sister she lost. She begs Mia not to leave her behind, a desperate, childish plea. The memory of that day plays over, a relentless nightmare. She screams her sister's name, trapped in the moment of her loss. Her cries echo into a vast, empty darkness. Alec's voice cuts through the dream, asking if she's all right. She finally wakes, the phantom tears of her nightmare still fresh. He offers to make her some hot milk to calm her nerves. Later, he studies a glowing book by the campfire's light. Anna's attention is drawn to a pile of strange equipment. He explains it's a magic item he crafted to sell for funds. She's stunned to learn he made their tent and lamps as well. He humbly says he can't do everything, unlike his grandfather. But his skills only make her feel more weak and useless. He turns, surprised by her sudden change in mood. She breaks down, saying Mia was better at everything than her. A classic case of little sister syndrome. She lists all the ways Mia was superior, a perfect travel partner. She falls to her knees, pleading with her new master. Through her tears, she begs him not to abandon her. Her desperation catches him completely off guard. She admits she's not cheerful or cute like her sister was. But Alec immediately shuts down her fears. He tells her she's his little sister now, and he'll never leave his family. But his kindness only breaks her further, screaming that her sister is gone. She's convinced that one day, she'll just be a burden to him. He grabs her shoulders, forcing her to look him in the eyes. He tells her that even with Mia gone, Anna is still his sister. He promises to stay by her side until she can stand on her own. She asks if he's telling the truth, if he'll really keep his word. He pulls her into a hug, a silent vow to protect what's left of his family. He tells her it's an absolute promise, and she finally lets her tears fall. He holds her tight, calling himself an idiot for not seeing her pain. He realizes he was completely blind to the depth of her fear and anxiety. To her, they weren't family, just the friends of the sister she lost. And she'd been fighting so hard, terrified of being abandoned. No pressure, kid. Their journey continues, marked by the bodies of countless monsters. And with every battle, Anna grows stronger, their path to Volk's becoming clearer. Jilly praises Anna's progress, telling her she did a great job. Anna asks what to do with the monster loot, and Jilly offers to carry it all. He hands her the items, and she shyly thanks him for his help. Jilly wonders why she only calls Alec brother, and Alec just laughs it off. Anna is now a level 15 black mage, leveling up even faster than Alec did. Alec reflects that he never had to fight this desperately before. But with nothing else to do, he can focus solely on getting stronger. He realizes at this rate, Anna might grow up to be a powerful, magical girl. Priorities, I see. But his thoughts drift back to Mia, wondering what she would think of all this. And so their small party continues its journey, a lonely light in the vast wilderness. Anna wishes her new family good night before heading to bed. Alec tells Jilly he'll take the first watch, a silent agreement between them. With the others asleep, Alec begins his solitary vigil. He steels himself, knowing tomorrow they finally reach the city of Volks. Their long journey through the wilderness is ending, and their new life as adventurers is about to begin. He thinks of his grandfather's inheritance, a fortune for a villager. But for an adventurer, 5 million gold is basically just startup capital. He knows their small party will need to grow to truly survive, and every last coin will have to go towards getting stronger. He thinks about Jilly's path to becoming a sniper, and he wonders what advanced class Anna will choose for herself. As for him, he needs special items to become a necromancer, a goal that has now become his sole focus. But there's something else he's been sensing in the darkness, a strange unseen presence that's been following them. Ever since the attack, he's felt it growing stronger each day. He realizes it's his unique skill, communion with the dead. Guess the ghosts of his past are quite literal, a power he's felt since he was a child, now growing more potent. He wonders if their presence is why his level has been rising so fast. He wonders if this power is a result of all the death he's witnessed. But for now, his focus is on the future, and the long list of tasks ahead. They finally arrive at the gates of Volks, their new life just a few steps away. A small toll is paid, the price of entry into a new world. The city bells ring out, marking the end of their long journey. For Anna, who has only known the village, the city is a breathtaking sight. The streets are alive with the sights and sounds of a bustling market. It's a world away from the quiet, peaceful life they once knew. Everywhere they look, there's something new and exciting to see. Anna is completely captivated, while Alec just tries to take it all in. But the high travel tax quickly brings him back to reality. Anna is eager to get to the guild, but also wants to explore. Jilly, however, is immediately distracted by a food stall. Priorities, man. Alec tries to wrangle his two very excited companions, but he relents, agreeing to let them see the city first.